A few videos back, I talked about emergency funds, specifically about why holding more than you need can cost you in ways that aren't just financial. And at the end of that video, I admitted I was holding 1 month more than my own framework said I needed. I said I would share the decision and the reasoning when I made it. Well, I made it, and this is the video. Well, the short version for anyone coming to this fresh. An emergency fund has two costs people don't usually talk about. A financial one, so cash loses value to inflation, and a psychological one. A comfortable cash buffer can quietly suppress the productive risk-taking that builds toward financial independence. Now, my framework said 3 months was the right size for my situation. I was holding what amounts to 4. Now, the extra month wasn't there because I had calculated it to be necessary. It was there because the number felt comfortable and I hadn't really thought about it for a long time. So I promised to share what I decided, and here it is. Now, before I get to the decision, I want to share what I learned. And here is this. First, the feedback this video gave. I'm underestimating how fast things can go wrong. So I've read about people describing specific experiences, maybe sudden job loss, maybe big medical bills, even overlapping emergencies, where a larger fund was the difference between manageable and, well, catastrophic. Those can be real situations. And they made me think more carefully about the risk than I had in the original video. Now, the second thing about emergency funds is the psychological value of a bigger fund is a feature, not a bug. So I've read about people arguing that the calm of a larger fund provides its worth, that it provides is worth the opportunity cost. So the financial anxiety itself can be a drag on productivity and decision making. So in some cases, I agree with this. And a third pillar that could go wrong or that I need to address is that your risk profile might be less stable than you think. So building a side income from scratch while keeping a main job involves more uncertainty than a single stable salary. The second income stream doesn't exist yet, and counting it as risk reduction before it's real is too optimistic. So that third scenario landed the hardest, and it changed the framing for me. So in the original video, I argued that my risk profile, having a stable job, no dependents, building a second income stream, justified a smaller emergency fund. Now, the stories I read about not fully considering that building a second income stream and having a second income stream are totally different risk profiles. So yeah, that's a good point. Because right now I have one income source. This channel is still being built. It exists and it's growing. But until it generates any meaningful income, it doesn't really diversify my financial risk. It's just a side project. So yes, I agree. Counting it as income diversification is wishful thinking. So now this part changed my calculation, but maybe not my conclusion. The conclusion from the original video that the extra month was there for psychological comfort rather than real risk management, it still holds. But the correct fund size is slightly less clear-cut than I made it sound. So when I ran my framework with this correction that I have one income source, not two, the answer shifted from 3 months is sufficient to 3 to 3.5 months is a more honest range. I was at 4, remember? But the change isn't that big, just half a month. So here's what I decided. Previously, my emergency fund was 4 months expenses. I moved to 3.5 months. The stories I read, as I said, about not having a real side income if you're still building, they were correct. Until it is generating real consistent income, I'm not counting it. Now the half month, that we went from 4 months to 3.5 months, in absolute terms, it's not really a large amount. It just went into my index fund account. I didn't find anything new and exciting to do with it, just added it with the other stuff. Now, why not move to 3 months and be consistent with my original argument? Well, I understood that my original argument was slightly overconfident about how stable my situation is right now. So 3.5 is a bit better. And I think reading these stories, seeing other people's inputs, it's very useful. And it's very important to update your views on things. And I think I updated my own conclusion based on what I learned, and I'm happy about it. Now, there is a broader principle that kind of surfaced. Most personal finance decisions involve 2 separate questions that usually get, mashed into one. The first one is analytical. What does the math say? The second is psychological. What do I actually need to feel stable enough to make good decisions? And actually both questions are legitimate. The mistake would be to answer only one of them. So if you answer only the maths question, you end up with a technically correct position, but you might not sustain it emotionally. If you answer only the psychology question, you end up with a comfortable number that, might not work. So the right financial decision is the one you can both justify and actually live with, right? So here's this week's homework. I would suggest you run an audit on your own emergency fund or any other fund or large cash position you're holding. Now, 2 questions. First, does this amount reflect my actual risk profile? Job stability, income sources, dependents? Or does it reflect how much uncertainty I can emotionally tolerate? And second question, if I moved some of this to a higher return position and it dropped in value in short term, would I be able to leave it alone, or would I panic and sell at the wrong moment? If the answer to the first is my anxiety tolerance and the answer to the second is I would leave it alone, that's useful information. It means the difference between where you are and where your math says you should be is a psychology problem, not a strategy problem, right? Okay, so I said I would share the reasoning when I made the decision, and that's what this was. I took into account all these different stories I read, and I think I had a really good lesson from them. So let me know if you are somehow correcting your emergency fund right now, if learning, reading all these stories from other people is useful to you, because learning from others is something maybe we don't always want to do, but I think it provides a lot of value. Yeah, okay. Well, let me know how you're doing, how's your emergency fund, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!